We want to inform you and the public that the task teams that are countering and actively investigating the vicious murders in Masaka and Lwengo continue to register more success in their operations. So far, 12 suspects have been charged to court for murder and related conspiracies. These include Ssewanyana Mohammad, aged 32, Chibirango John Bosco, aged 40, Sekajugo Paul, 42, Mutabazi Batista, 36, Kabayo Henry, Kaganda Moses, 30, Tumwesije, 26, Kaiza Ashraf, aged 20, Sebunya Isa, 35, Chabula David, aged 30, Serwada Mike, aged 34, and Mwonge Jude, aged 38. An additional 11 suspects are pending court either today or tomorrow after their case files were sanctioned. This will now bring the number of suspects highly linked to the vicious murders to 23. And the advantage we have is that the majority have admitted to participating in the murderous rampage and even led us to reconstructing some of the selected scenes of crime, which is an advantage towards our prosecution. So now the task team continues to hunt for one Mulumba Kasim, aged 25, who is on the run. He's the one who was behind the attempted murder of Nachanzi Maria Yosefu of Chotera. We put out photographs, but he's still on the run. Our task teams are trying as much as possible to ensure that he's arrested and also charged for the attempted murder of the 61-year-old Nachanzi. The good thing is that Maria is out of danger and progressing well. In addition, we managed to foil attempted attacks in Butenga, Bokoma and Simbi after residents there volunteered very good information, which called also for increased level of vigilance on their side. And we want to really thank them for their cooperation. But majorly, the people of Lwengo and Masaka, the information that they volunteered really helped us in identifying some of the killers, especially those who were from Lwengo and Masaka, although there are a few who left here, who were from Ndeba, who left here to go and join them. So we really want to thank the public for their cooperation, because it has really helped to deter these vicious killers from spreading more havoc as we talk now. We want to inform you that we expect to record statement from two members of parliament, that is Honorable Ssewanyana and Honorable Ssegirinya, who are expected to appear at CID headquarters for statement recording as the masterminds behind the vicious murders. We zeroed on them based on the admissions from the suspects, clearly indicating how they were recruited, taken through the intentionally designed plans in a meeting they held at Endeavour, and that was aimed at creating animosity against elderly victims in the selected districts. The suspects indicated to us how they were promised wealth as a motivating factor, and that it was under the command of, so far, the two politicians that their victims were hacked and beaten to death. As we continue, we also want to probably caution a bit the media fraternity. We are aware the murderous rampage in Masaka and Lwengo is of great news, but we urge you to report objectively. Some of you are sensationalizing these vicious murders and linking them to every form of attack involving use of machetes. Like some of you were reporting this incident in Chivwa, which was a traditional case of burglary, attempted burglary. then also the other incident that was happening in Nakaseke. Now, when you start linking these crimes of burglary without proof, it inspires copycat murders, and also it promotes unnecessary fear and panic in the public. Try very much as possible to conduct very thorough investigative journalism before you rush into promoting sensations in the media, which is not okay. So I want to thank our task team so far for the tremendous work on these important investigations. The arrests and persons charged to court on evidence shows our resolve to tackle all forms of senseless violence and impunity by enemies of this country. And we are not going to rest. We are going to ensure that we thoroughly dismantle the cells, the organized gangs of criminals in Masaka, Lwengo, and the other areas. So we want to emphasize that the attempted burglary in Chivwa was not linked to vicious murders in Greater Masaka. That recent video helped to capture thugs armed with pangas and house-breaking implements. And it was purely an attempted burglary. So far, the Directorates of ICT and Forensic Services are analyzing the private footages, but we've also got good intelligence, which shows where this gang operates from in the areas of Nansana and the areas of Katoke. So we already have information that we are already following. But we want to basically thank and upload one Kayemba Paul Sempijja, the owner of the home in Chivwa, for installing these deterrent devices, because it is on record that wherever you have deterrent devices in your homes, in form of CCTV cameras, there are those who have dogs, there are those who have motion-activated security lights, there are people who have strong heavy doors and walls, alarms, and even people who live in a very strong neighborhood where the neighborhood watch is very well organized. All these help in sort of deterring these burglars, because in many cases they tend to avoid break-ins that are difficult. So when they hear a dog, when they hear an alarm go off and like that, you find that they tend to look for the next target, which is weak. And want to, at this point, encourage members of the public, homeowners, residents, to embrace such deterrent methods to avoid the trauma of going through losses of properties and so on and so forth. But the difficult part is that much as the alarm went off, Mr. Sempijja didn't have the contacts of the nearest police unit. And we have always advised that now within the Greater Kampala, we have greater mobility in terms of these motorcycle squads. We have them at every division, at every station, that our response is improving. So if we want to again remind the public, always have the number of the nearest police unit. Like these people, we could have rounded them up. We could have rounded them up like we did in Nakaseke. There was very good coordination with the local leaders. We rounded up, we recovered the 2 guns, we got these other assailants. So it's always important that we have these contacts of the nearest police unit. And we also want to inform you that we have actually put in extra measures in places where we are investigating anonymous threats. It is becoming a habit, or we are registering an increase in the saturation of anonymous written threats to selected communities. In some of the in all those letters, the authors remain silent, but they have warned violence against selected members of the community, some local leaders, like LCs, NRM chairpersons, and even business persons. But of course, we do take these threats seriously, although in many cases, these anonymous written threats, some of them have ended up being unfounded threats and so on. But we know that there is no threat to public safety in some of the areas like Nansana, Kawempe, and these other places in Mityana. But so far, experts from the forensic services are working vigorously to determine the origin and validity of these threats, and we shall ensure that the persons who are responsible for sending the threatening letters are actually tracked down and arrested. So we are working so far with the community to escalate our security posture based on intelligence, and also doing a lot of community mobilization. The level of community mobilization that is in the greater Masaka, Lwengo and Masaka has really improved. And we want to urge the community there not to lower the level of vigilance that they do have at this stage. And these other members in these other districts could also try to emulate the people who are in those two districts. Once you have very good community mobilization and vigilance, we can always weed out such threats of violence. In some of the places where we got a circulation of chain letters of threats, we had one in Wanyange division. And what is funny, they go and throw these letters, like this one was thrown in an unfinished building. So how do you expect somebody to go and get a letter thrown in an unfinished building and you take that as a very serious threat? But anyway, we are going to look at what could be the motivation behind this. In Wanyange, they were threatening, they were warning two residents that they are going to attack them within 2 days. That was on the 5th. And by 7th, these people have not yet been attacked. That is Mwanika Musa, aged 52 years, and another one called Liagoba Mubarak. All these are of Wanyange village. And they were also in the same leaflet asking the youth to willingly join them. If the youth have failed to join them, they are also going to turn against them. There was one in another threatening letter, anonymous letter that was dropped in Chiindi zone, Kawempe, where it was, the words were written in Luganda, twagala emitwe asatu mu kifo kino okutuuka ku Sunday. So by Sunday, the 30 emitwe had not yet even been gotten. So that was the threat in Chiindi zone. Then in Masanafu, Chinonya zone, Rubaga division, there were 3 anonymous letters that were dropped in the compounds of Namsoke Nora, Nasali Rahuma, and Luiga Erina, threatening that they would be able, they are going to murder them. There was another anonymous cheat in Uganda. Here they were warning the NRM chairperson of Kumansimbi, Mr. Mwanje Shafik. So then there was another one in Chiudaya, Cell Central Division in Mityana, and so on and so forth. But like we've indicated, we have a team that is thoroughly looking into these threats of directed against selected members of the public.